What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another chance encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
I'm joined today with Luis Castillo. How you doing today, Luis?
I'm doing fantastic. How is everyone?
I'm great. I'm great. Do you usually pronounce it Louise, or how do you usually pronounce your name?
However, come out better to you, but usually it's Luis.
Luis. Okay, great. Awesome. And why do I have Luis on the show today? Audience member. This is my favorite audience member, by the way, Luis. The reason why I have Luis on here today is because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate, syndicators, operators, investors, and such. And why do I do that? Well, part of it is because it's the law. Basically, you have to, before you partner with anybody or let them know about your private deals, anything like that, before they let you know, before you let them know, you have to make sure that you know their level of sophistication, appetite for risk, core competencies, all this kind of rigmarole. I like finding this out, and I also want to make sure that you have the ability to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. But before we get too excited on that, Luis, can you please introduce yourself to the audience for a moment?
Yes, like you said, I'm Luis Castillo. That's the way to pronounce. I'm from Nicaragua. I'm an economist. I have worked mostly with analyzing businesses, and I got involved into multifamily because it's another way to analyze deal. And I love analyze. I love to see. I always said analyzing a deal is like reading a book. You have to find what is in there. It's like something's going to happen, but you don't know until you analyze it.
I love
I've
it.
been doing it for about analyzing business for about 20 something years. But the multifamily is a few years. However, I invested some of them in South Carolina. I even went to Brazil to invest real estate.
Wow, that's really awesome. I love that multifaceted story there. So the first thing on the next part though is, of course, it ended up choking. So I need to hit this, and I need it. Okay, there we go. Boom, and there it is. But wait, check your 8. It's actually the 5 for you in the audience there. But Luis, can you see the audience member? They might have a red subscribe button instead of the gray. Can you see if if they've subscribed yet? Are you able to make that out or
No, I
not?
don't see it.
Oh my goodness. That's really embarrassing if the audience member hasn't subscribed, but let's continue here. That's just a joke. So let's move on to the next one if I can figure out what the next button is. There we go. It's this one. Boom. All right, we're going to go through the 5 distinct motivations that come out if it gets its act together. It looks like I need to put it over on this side for it to actually work. So first reason why some people make their next commercial real estate acquisition is because they are looking to preserve their purchasing power. What's that all about? If you already have a nest egg, you have a portfolio of assets, and then you use the cash flow that comes from owning those assets to make your ends meet, well, that's these guys right here. This is why they make their next acquisition, is because when inflation rears its ugly head, they're going to need more cash flow, or they're doing it to put basically a big lump sum into something that'll keep its value. That's what they're up to. That's not my big motivation. My bigger one is this one right here, which is trading time directly for wealth. Now, I got a background in technology. I own 506 BME. I started a CRM based agency back in 2011. So that means when you make high wages, that also means you pay more tax than anybody else. So it hit me as like, how can I pivot how I do business or the businesses that I'm involved in so that I end up getting the deployed equity rather than the great big tax bill that comes along with income. So this is why I'm doing all this stuff. But that's not for everybody. A lot of people who come into this business originally, they're going, hey, I want to get more control over my time. I want to fast track my retirement. I want to work fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or fewer hours per week. Whatever it is, that's what a lot of people are doing and why they chose to go for commercial real estate. Whereas some people, if they manage to make it so that my cropping job didn't cut it off, so I'll have to fix that next time. Some people are just plain ambitious, so they want to buy their entire hometown. They're looking for that generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job, so they end up making a bunch of commercial acquisitions. Whereas the last group, they have one thing in common with these guys, which is these guys, they're going to be hustling into their 90s. So they're great people to have on your team, just like these ones, though. The last group, they've chosen a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment, or maybe it's animals, whatever it is. I like to say they want to save the world. But regardless, you're going to have a serious nest egg if you're going to be able to make a really big impact on a sector of society or something like that. So of those 5 different motivations, Luis, what combination of them really describes you best?
I want to leave legacy to my family. That's the number one.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, give some part of to the society, which is I'm doing it right now with some different clubs. But the most important is the legacy. I mean, and the reason behind, because I came to this country with no money. I came because of the war. I was illegal for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get any job, to the lowest job, whatever you want to call them. And I don't want that to happen to my kids, basically. So even to my grandchild, which is I have one so far.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I really love that. Yeah, I really love that. The fact that it's it's a subject that's discussed in the news pretty often, but I don't think it's put in the right context at all. And it's really inspiring to see what you're doing as far as that goes. And I don't have a joke to go along with it for once in my life. But what I do have is the tolerance for risk assessment. It seems I still don't have the cropping right, but what can we do? So this one, I mentioned it earlier for you. It's a fill in the blank question. Luis, there are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. What's too risky for you, Luis?
Anything that has no cash flow from the first day, I think that's a very risky. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's the most important, especially at this time where the cash flow is more important than equity for what is coming.
Okay, so you're not really interested in heavy value add, heavy lift, that sort of thing for that reason?
It is. That's the whole idea of multifamily, heavy value add, but you have to have a cash flow the first day. Mm-hmm. I have seen some other deals that they start for the whole first year with negative cash flow, and that's something that you is feeding, like they said, the skinny cow. Mm-hmm. So you can give them sold so they can get bigger, and then you can sell it to a higher price. That's not the right way. So mm-hmm. I believe you have to have cash flow from the first day. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And obviously with that cash flow, you used to have the protection, so you can at the end is to increase the value of the property, and also create a nice community with the tenants so they can feel like a part of something where they are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right, they can take pride in it. I love that, and that's the piece that I think that the PR of landlords in general has been sorely lacking. But let's go through the different roles in a commercial deal, because that's why we're all here. If you want your own copy of the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die, it's completely free on dandoesdeals.com. I don't even ask for your email address, which from a marketing perspective, that's about the dumbest thing you can do, is not ask for contact information in return for your freebies. But I want you to be able to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate, and I want you to be able to understand how my guest fits into this. So let's go through these 6 different roles here. The first role I want to talk about is the repositioner role. They look at a lot of different properties. They do a bunch of different paperwork. And what are they doing? Well, Luis already mentioned it. It's a fancy word. They underwrite the deal. What does that mean? It means they do the math. They do the arithmetic. They figure out, is this property even actually making the amount of money that the broker and the seller claim it is? So they need to find that out before they make a move. But why are they doing the math? Well, they're trying to figure out if there's any upside. Commercial real estate is super duper competitive. So of course people are always looking to pick up the properties and make good on it. So the skill comes in finding that upside. So they have 3 main tools in their tool belt to pull that off. The first one is get more advantageous lending from different financiers, but let's assume that that's not on the table for most people. So the repositioner first is going to look to operations to make it more efficient, get fewer of those Benjamins going down the toilet there. But of course, there's more to operations than just collecting rent and unclogging toilets and mowing lawns and taking out trash and all that kind of stuff. One of my fortes that I contribute is the marketing and digital infrastructure of the business. I've been doing that since 2010 actually. So that's a big piece of what I do. But often operations aren't enough. Luis already mentioned that he doesn't like properties that don't cash flow, but maybe there's like even if that's the case, maybe there's still some units that need to be fixed. So you need a contractor team quite possibly to fix places up. And the idea there is that the next tenant will be happy to pay more in rent than the previous one because it's a nicer unit. So you're going to need a contractor team in there in a lot of cases. But if you're like me and you have the big problem of I'm from the internet, and that means I need locals. I need boots on the ground. I need somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. In an hour or two, I'd still be stuck at an airport. So that's your team there, and then when the repositioner has that all buttoned up, they take their deal to the financier and say, hey, I got this deal. It's worth tens of millions of dollars. You don't happen to have, say, tens of millions of dollars that you want to lend me, do you? And the financier is going to want to know one other thing, which is, dun, 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 who's your sponsor, KP? And if you didn't hear about that from your coaching program, you're going to be like, uh-oh, what's this all about? And the answer is the sponsor KP is the person who already owns a similar asset. And the reason why that's important is because you can't be eligible for the loan unless somebody owns a similar asset and is in the fold. So on top of that, you also need a certain amount of liquidity. And then you're also going to need a balance sheet among the GP team, these owners, of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Luis, as far as your core competencies go, you already mentioned the underwriting side. So you definitely have some repositioner skill sets that you're doing. Pretty much everybody has some financier, aka handling money and paper only, dealing with the network parts of the die. But where are your core competencies that you're most likely to contribute to your next deal?
Yeah, I would say that GP, but it's a small scale, so I'm still growing there. It's a lot to grow from that part. Mm-hmm. However, finding a lot of contacts and partners, getting partners, and also raising funds. Those are the ones that are very strong for me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Basically, and also the management. But I would say the number 2 is going to be the underwriting and the finding partners. That's my forte.
All right, beautiful. And then let's talk about the deal themselves. So when commercial real estate investors are talking to each other and they say, what's your buy box or what's your ideal property, they're talking about 3 things really. The first one has to be geography. So which states, which counties, which neighborhoods, okay? It all matters. You've heard location before. The second one has to do with the size, and we're talking about multifamily, which is in commercial, they use the unit count to talk about the size of those sorts of properties. But of course, there's some like industrial where it's off of square footage instead. So we're gonna need to know the size for sure. But the third one, that's the one that bugs me a little bit because it's the same word for 2 different meanings. The word is class. The first meaning of the word class, it has to do with the condition of the building. So is it old or is it new? Is it beat up or is it in good shape? Is it luxurious or is it very bare bones? Okay, that's one meaning of class. The second meaning of class has to do with where the property is located in terms of, does it have great schools? What's the crime rate like? That kind of thing. And both of those different meanings of class, they use the same rating system, just like grade school. So it can be like an A+, A-, B+, C, and so on like that. So Luis, as far as properties where it's easier to say yes, it's more difficult to say no, what you looking for?
Number 1, Texas and Florida. Mm-hmm. Second would be Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Louisiana. Those are the next one. And I would say that I will, on the size, I know that many people, they say by doors, but to me it's more important what is by the minimum NOI, because you don't want to be too skinny. And 80 doors in some cities in Texas is equal to 30, 40 doors in Florida. Mm-hmm. So my NOI that I'm looking for is not to be no less than $300,000-$400,000 net operating income. That's what I'm looking for. So if you convert that into dollars, would be about 80, $60 up to $200. That would be the size that I keep looking for. And on the class, it would be B and C, preferable when you have a property that is in a different class, that is emerging area. Let's say the area is a B class, where you have a C property. That would be ideal. That's the best.
All right, beautiful. And then my last question has to do with who you're looking for. And my favorite part about commercial real estate is because you've got these separate swim lanes. People are so supportive, and they're always eager to introduce you to more people who can complete your team. But because we all have our own skill sets, we are disproportionately suited to help some more than others. Me personally, because of my marketing, big systems automation background, the sponsor KPs are the ones who I'm always on the lookout for, because they already have the foundation to make what I do really, really work. So that's who I'm looking for. Now, Luis, I don't know if you have any 506B deals going on, but if you do, you're not allowed to entice investors. But as far as the different roles on the die, who are you really disproportionately suited to help?
I would say like you said, right now we're starting one with a 506B, but we're planning to convert that later to a 506C. It's going to be a later, but I always keep looking for people. People that I'm looking for is the people that have experience at all different fields of the process, because you cannot just know about underwriting without knowing how to manage, or without being in the position of to raise funds. You have to know the whole scope of the process, and then you specialize in one. But you cannot just learn one and specialize in one. You have to know the whole context. And most important, the people that I'm looking for, somebody that can go with my speed. And my partner that I have, we met each other because we go at the same speed. That means we underwrite every day. Every day, 3-4 property every day. We look 10 property, 12 property every day. I mean, so that's what I'm looking for. Who can go with my speed so we can just move fast? That's what I'm looking for, regardless of the position, because if you have deal going through all the time, you want to have a place for someone all the time.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you and I met through a meetup, and people can find me really easily through LinkedIn. I got a distinct last name, so that helps. Do you have a website that's the best way, or what's the best way to reach out to you, Luis?
El Castillo which is is my website, Royal Estate Investment. People that don't know, before real estate, their name originally was Royal because the taxes. People to know that. So the name of the website is Royal Estate Investment, singular, royalestateinvestment.com, and El Castillo with double L at the beginning.
All right, beautiful. And then the only thing I have left, it's actually not for you, Luis, it's for you in the audience there, which is, if you look, let me see here, under myself, if you notice, like, you have this pain in the back of your head that just starts, and this searing fire in your eyeballs, it's because there's this awful red button that you really should get rid of. It says subscribe on it, and if you want to get rid of that awful red button, you just click on it, and then it turns into the gray button of tranquility, which is the most amazing thing. Like, your kids won't make fun of you, which is really important. And all it means, it doesn't cost you anything. All it means when you subscribe is it means that these videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but more importantly, YouTube might actually start paying for these videos instead of me. That's cool, right? But you don't have to watch the rest of my videos if they show up in your suggestions. I just appreciate the fact that you joined me today. Just like Luis, I really appreciate the fact that you joined me today, and we got a chance to know each other a little bit better. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay. Are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, You can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506 Beamy, everybody.